me here in studio, I have American University historian, professor, and director of Nuclear Studies Institute, Peter Kuznick. It is so good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yes. And you're going to help us offer a little bit of context just as we go throughout this special here on WUSA9. But first, right when you sat down, what came to mind, I said, how do you feel about this moment? What does this strike you as you watch the former president's casket being prepared to be removed from this special air mission? What's kind of going through your mind here?
Well, there's a lot of thoughts about Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carter lived a long life. He had a complicated presidency, and he had 42 years of post-presidency, and is not a successful president, but it was the best ex-president that the country's ever had. The only one who might compare at all would be John Quincy Adams, because after he served, he went back and ran for the House and served 17 years in the House, leading the fight against slavery.
That's right.
So that's pretty heroic too. But Jimmy Carter has achieved incredible things since he's been out of office. His time in office, as we'll be able to discuss, was a little bit more mixed.
And then, you know, as again, we're watching Special Air Mission 39, we just saw the family depart. And when you think of the context here, the historical kind of pomp, circumstance, tradition that goes into such a poignant moment like this, they're going to play Hail to the Chief. There's going to be a 21-gun salute. And you talked about Jimmy Carter's impact, not only in his presidency, but most importantly, after his presidency. And do you feel like as we go on today with the funeral proceedings that his post-presidency is really going to be poignant in our coverage and how we remember him?
I think there's been a process of sanctification of Jimmy Carter, and that's not based on his presidency, that's based on his post-presidency. But he set an example. What he's known for is honesty, integrity, speaking truth to power. You know, many of the traits that people don't associate with the incoming president are the ones that they extol about Jimmy Carter. There's all these billboards up around the country of Carter, and it says character. And it's interesting because they highlight the letters C-A-R-T-E-R inside the word character. So that image of Jimmy Carter as a man who's known mostly for his character at a time when we have a president who's many people think is deeply flawed because of his character.
When you think of that word, the word character, right? I mean, Jimmy Carter served his single term, 1977 to 1981. One term as president, and yet he has made such an impact on what it looks in terms of morality, being that moral compass for the nation. Do you think that's what people are going to remember him most for?
Well, I think that after the present really basically sanctification of him, people are going to look a little more critically at some of the things. Because Carter as president not only failed in terms of popularity and approval ratings, but there are a lot of serious blemishes on his record. And as much as he stood for human rights, he also in many instances betrayed human rights. As much as he stood for democracy, he supported a lot of dictators. As much as he stood for peace, he was in many ways pushing policies that were leading toward war. So I think historians are going to look at it one way. The public is going to see him in terms of his character, and so that's going to be the public image. The historical image is going to be a little more complicated.
You know, as with all presidents, right? But you did touch on something related to his foreign policy, and we can kind of delve into this as we go. But he did get wrapped up into, you know, some very complicated foreign policy, as we have seen with some of the crises that were on his hands, both domestically and abroad. And I definitely want to dive into some of those as we go.